Welcome to Get Chatty about your local businesses. This is a podcast about LGBT plus and ally businesses, talents, projects, and all the different things that serve Melbourne and the Greater Victoria. Now, today I have how should we describe? We know each other for a while, but I don't want to be called old friend because we're not old. Um,
How
so we got
about
JD here. So JD, can you do a little introduction of
how about
about
former
yourself,
colleague?
please?
How does that sound?
Hey.
Former colleague who became a friend.
Yes, there you go. There you go. Oh gosh. Can you tell us about yourself a little bit?
Sure, yeah. My name is JD Zamora, and I am a comedian and uh, multidisciplinary artist. I was going to say multidimensional,
Uh,
and disability advocate. I'm based on the Gold Coast, so a little bit out of the region that you would normally be profiling. But I have recently returned from a run of a solo show at Melbourne International Comedy Festival, and I
and I went.
grew up. Yeah, you did.
Let's talk about your comedy to begin with. Because here's the thing. We met when we both worked for the Sydney Council for it was
Well, I
fun.
think we both worked on the Art and About events,
Yes.
didn't we? Yes.
Yes. That was fun. That was fun. Actually, I'm doing a Be Kind and Rewind episode to revisit my experience there. But I mean, how did you move from that? Because I mean, we lost touch for over 10 years.
Mm.
We reconnected last year, but over Instagram. And then
It was more of a return to performance. So I have been on the stage ever since I was 8 weeks old, I believe. The very first role I ever played was Baby Jesus. So I
oh,
was born in October, and my adoptive parents took me to church around Christmas time to be in a pageant, the Christmas pageant, and I was the savior. And yeah, I spent that very first experience on stage, and really after that, it was identified that I could sing when I was very young, so I started singing quite often at church and at school, and then went on to do a lot of musicals and did a degree in theatre at university. So my undergrad was in theatre. So doing acting and opera. I studied classical opera for 4 years. Did classical traditional Shakespearean plays as well as newer devised works and things like that. And then I didn't really want to go through the harrowing audition process that my friends were going through to try and land a tiny role on Home and Away or something like that, which seemed to be just about the best anyone could achieve. So I decided that I was going to move to China and teach English. So while I was there, I was doing. I had a very high level adult English class who I did an abridged, simplified version of A Midsummer Night's Dream with them.
oh,
And I had a very small budget, which was probably the equivalent of around 25 Australian dollars. But this was in rural China. So that went a long way. I was able to hire, Disney style princess gowns for all of the actresses and for the actors. They wore like Tang Dynasty robes, and
wow.
then we went through the school and got all of the Christmas trees that would have been used at Christmas time and made a forest, and created a stage. And yeah, it was so much fun. And one of my colleagues who had been in event management said to me, "You were so resourceful putting together and producing this play. I think you'd make a great event manager." So I looked into that, and when I returned to Australia, I did my master's degree in events and ended up at City of Sydney because our head of events, Gil Minervini, was one of my
She's now the
lecturers at
head of
uni.
Vivid.
Well, there you go.
I was
Yeah, so
like,
she
wow.
was she was one of my lecturers at university, and after my first lecture with her, which was on Chinese New Year, I went up to her and said, "Hey, I've just come back from China and I speak Mandarin. Can I come and work on your festival?" So that's how I got in to City of Sydney, and then I
I
had a 15-year career in events after that, and just never felt completely fulfilled in event management. And when I was living in London, I decided that I was going to give stand up ago because I love a challenge, and it was a great way to be able to express myself and my sense of humor. And yeah, I guess it's all come from there since about 2016. And I've been slowly doing more comedy and less events. And yeah, now I'm almost entirely devoted to comedy full time.
And you know, one of the ironic thing is I got into City of Sydney through Art and About Festival because of my art school background. And I have get to touch on the Chinese New Year festival a little bit, but then I realized that I can't speak Mandarin. So
No.
in that occasion, you would have been more proficient than I am, or more qualified than I am in that role. So
Yeah, I suppose so.
it,
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it would be, it would be. And isn't it amazing that it's like, you know, just think about these days that if you have $25, you try to put a show together here, you wouldn't even get a costume with cum stains on it. I mean, just saying, just saying,
You're
just
right.
saying.
You're right. You would get you wouldn't be able to do anything at all.
Hey, I mean, if you have never done that, we would have never met, and something like this episode would never happen.
Yeah,
And one of the
exactly.
things I really enjoy is how I like rediscover you for the new version of you, the comedian JD that I have that I didn't meet before, but I know I was like, it's actually a lot more fun than the previous version that I met before. Can you
Oh
tell
yeah.
me a little bit about your inspiration behind your comedy?
So the very first comedian that I saw, yeah, I've been watching comedy my whole life, like most people, but the very first comedian that I saw that really made me think, I want to do that, and I think I can. Um, which may have been uh, a little ambitious of me at the time was Eddie Izzard, and I think what really inspired me about them was that they are so unashamedly themselves. Back at the time, Eddie was using he/him pronouns and was identified as male and as a transvestite. Now she goes by the name of Susie,
Yeah.
and is a trans woman. But at the time, just the fact that Eddie has or Susie has been through such a public evolution of their identity, not just their gender, but through things like has clearly has hyperlexia, which is one of the neurodivergent conditions I also share, because Eddie has performed in 5 different languages, and once for charity performed in the same show in 3 different languages back to back. 3 hours,
Wow.
the same material, and it was English, French, and German. And I speak enough French and German to have watched all 3 of them to know how he translated those jokes and which ones had been left out. And it was just phenomenal. But also ran 27 marathons in 27 days, has run for public office in the UK twice, and it's just so unapologetically genuine. And I know people who have met her and say that it's authentic. The what you get on stage is still a heightened persona, but really is a genuine person who is just not afraid to live openly as who they are. And at the time when I saw those, I think I watched 3 specials back to back. I was still very afraid of who I was. So it was incredibly liberating. It was the beginning of a liberating feeling for me that you can be someone that many people may object to and still be adored by others and be wildly successful.
I think it's very important that for many of us when we were like, I mean, we're about the same age. I mean, you know, I'm
Yeah,
only a few months older, you know.
yeah, right. No, I'm turning 42 in October. So
Okay, 18 months. Just 18. Well, actually, I mean, sidebar, there's an intern at my work who's 19 years old that I always say that I'm only about 4 or 5 years older, just a few more months. Like, 240 or something like that maximum. But I think what was like, if I look back at myself, at my 19 years old self, I don't think he was ready to experience or handle the life that I have right now. And I'm happy with who I am and living my life the way that I want. But I can say that if I talk to my 19 years old self, he probably wouldn't recognize me as the same person. And I wonder how, like, did that kind of, is it a bit of somewhat parallel to your
Absolutely.
uh, growth from
I
that
couldn't have
very
become a
first?
comedian any younger than I did because, well, not in a way that would resonate authentically in the way that would pay homage to the authenticity that inspired me to become a comedian in the first place. I needed to discover myself. I needed to be comfortable enough with that to communicate it in front of audiences and be, self-aware enough and free of any of the fear of being judged by others, and know that I am enough and that I'm worthy, and all of that to be able to do the type of comedy that I do. Yeah, there are plenty of people who are not self-aware, who do all sorts of comedy, but I think that they cater to a different comedy experience than what I'm trying to offer. And I'm proud to say that there have been quite a few audience members who've come up to me after my shows and said it's been so refreshing to see somebody like me unafraid to express who they are on stage, because that's the feeling I got from watching Eddie, and that's what I want to give back to others, to the next generation of people who enjoy watching comedy.
I sent you a message after watching your show, and I really enjoyed the level of honesty in there. And there's something that I didn't get, like, it took me a couple of days to wrap my head around it, because
A lot to process.
yes, a lot to process, but it was really fun. It's almost like someone put my head in the tumble dryer and just kind of put it back or screw it back on. I feel good. I felt great. And there's something about where all people of different intersections of identity, and sometimes that not only from within, but from the outside, there will be people using words to hurt you. But when it comes to being a comedian and for what you do, and what I saw you at the show, your show, is that you took the power away from those people, because the words have power, and you took that, you owned it. And the thing is, like, sometimes sometimes I would be like, if someone say hateful, something hateful to me, and I was like, and tell me something that I haven't heard of or haven't talked about myself before. Fuck off. But
Yeah, exactly. What have you got that's new and fresh? Come on, I've heard all that before, and I've thought some of it myself. So come on.
you
I
probably can
honestly
come.
feel pretty bulletproof these days. Like, I don't
Yeah,
really think that there's much that a stranger could say to me that would be hurtful, because it's also basic.
yeah, it is. It is.
I could do better. I could self-deprecate far better than anyone could ever insult me. So, don't even bother.
You probably come up with 10 better versions of what they could come up with
Yeah,
in
right.
two
I'd want to
minutes.
I'd want to edit their insult and like workshop it with them and help them improve it. Like, I feel like you could do better. Like, I
Yeah,
would really like to help you improve this, because just commenting gay on one of my posts. Yeah, okay,
okay. And
correct.
yep. I mean,
And what else?
yeah, exactly.
Or
I was like,
you're not funny. Well, not to you, maybe,
yep.
but all the people who are laughing in that video seem to think so. So I guess their opinions kind of matter more to me than yours. Like, come on.
I think there's another thing that with your show homosexual, that we definitely got to go into a lot of detail soon. But what I really enjoy about that is it did took me, and I'm sure other audience, in a journey about your identity journey. So I have a feeling that for those people who put in a nasty comment or just say I don't like it for the sake of I don't like it, maybe they just haven't discovered their own journey yet or
Oh yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's my theory. That's my theory, but haters gonna hate. I mean, you
I
know,
don't worry about the trolls, but I am fascinated by like who takes the time out of their day to bother writing "you're not funny and you'll never be a real comedian" on someone's Instagram video. So I do like, click on it and just see who it is. And yeah, in general, they are, let's just say, a lot of the content that these people produce, it's giving insecurity. We'll leave it at
got it. Got
that.
it. Well, I mean, actually, that's a really good segue for my next question, which is kind of like impromptu. I haven't sent it to you. I'm so sorry. Have you experienced any heckling at your shows? Have anyone heckled you?
Only positive heckling, which can be
Oh,
just as derailing. Just opened a new one.
go
Mm.
for it. Go for it.
So positive heckling is like when somebody. So in my experience, it was when I was doing a show in Burleigh Heads, on the Gold Coast, and there was a rather inebriated lady who just started about three-quarters of the way, just yelling out, "You're amazing! I
Oh,
love you!" Which is nice, but it was derailing the joke that I was trying to tell. So I just said to her, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Maybe you could tell me all about it later on, because right now you're overloading my dopamine receptors, and it could actually be too much for me, too much love. So just hold on till later. You can tell me all about it."
I have such respect for JD. We met over 15 years ago, lost contact, and now we've reconnected. This episode is more like a reunion though. When I was going through the recording, I noticed each of us we have our own personal and professional growth, and the reflection on its own should be its own episode. You will hear more about JD's stories and venture in a few episodes. I do want to circle back to the past 15-ish minutes because I realize that humor, authenticity, and resilience are things that we now have in common that I wasn't quite there 15 years ago. And I really like it because to me, this was like taking a moment for me to reflect with myself. Podcasting is such a unique and rewarding journey for me. And of course that, like many new content creators, we're not making any money, but I'm earning moments to have better conversations with myself. And that's one unexpected gain from doing this podcast. I look forward to bringing you more interviews and discussions for the fortnights to come. Meanwhile, please remember to get chatty about your local businesses and creative talents. Thanks for listening.